guys, today I'm going to be talking about these two shirts right here. I thought about making individual reviews for these shirts, but I thought it was better to compare the two because there's some differences that are worth pointing out, and I think it's easier to see those differences whenever they're right next to each other. So this shirt over here, as you can tell, this is the 511. This is their Rapid Assault shirt is what they call it. It's made in Cambodia, as you can tell, if that matters to you. It's not made in the US. This is size small. The other one's the Idogear combat shirt. Hopefully you can see that right here. Idogear. This one's also size small. This one's made in China, if you care. So there's a couple main differences between these shirts. First and foremost is the price. So this Idogear over here is about $40 on Amazon. Free shipping is what I paid for it. And again, it's a small multicam. Comes in different colors. 511 also comes in different colors. I originally started out getting a medium, and it was a little bit too large for me because I like it fitting more snug. And these are designed to fit snug, not quite like compression shirt snug, like an Under Armour type shirt, but it's close to that because you don't want it super loose because it's designed to wear obviously underneath your plate carrier. So as you can tell on both of these, the material on the front and also on the back, the side that goes underneath your plate carrier, is designed to wick away moisture. That way you don't sweat a bunch, or so at least you dry out a little bit faster. So let's get into the differences. So first and foremost, the 511 is licensed multicam. The Idogear says it's multicam. It could be, but I couldn't find a tag anywhere on it that has multicam written on it. So on the 511, there's a tag. You can see right here. See if you can see that, if it will show up. It's multicam, it's licensed. So it is actual multicam. The Idogear, if it's not licensed multicam, again, there's no sticker on that one, or there's no tag saying it is. They label it as being such. It's pretty darn close. You can look at the two right here, and there's not really a whole lot of difference. There might be a little bit more green in the 511 versus this one might be a smidgen in the more brown color area. But they're close enough. Whenever you put it with all the other multicam stuff, especially once it starts getting dirty and a little faded, you're not going to be able to tell. On the Idogear, you can see there's little threads sticking out here and there. That's not really that big of a deal. You can super glue that down, melt it off, cut it off, whatever you want to do. There's a few spots around the entire shirt that I found that are like that, and that's not that big of a deal. Again, you can just put a little super glue on there or melt it off, and it'll stay put. It's not going to unravel. But the fit and finish on, the thread work itself isn't as nice as the 511, and you can tell the same thing on the Velcro itself. It's not as clean cut, so there's a little bit excess material right there sticking out that shouldn't be, versus the 511, there's very little extra material sticking out like on there. So the 511 just overall is a little bit nicer, but again, it's $70 versus the Idogear is $40, so that's a pretty significant, it's almost double the amount. The 511, the under material, whatever you want to call this, the main body of the shirt, it's made of a softer material, and it's better at wicking away moisture. So if you live in a hot environment, or you're going to be wearing this in a hot environment, and you don't want to just be drenched in sweat all the time, this one's going to work better. This one over here is more like just a standard cotton t-shirt is what it feels like. Maybe a little bit softer, like a nice soft cotton t-shirt, but this one is definitely softer. I think it's more of a polyester blend. And also, if you look on here, let's see if this will show up on camera or not. On the armpits, you see there's kind of like little holes all over the place. Hopefully you can see that. Again, that's like ventilated areas, and that goes all down both sides. So you can see the material right there. This is the front right here where my thumb is, and then right here down the side is actually has a little holes all the way down. So that's good for ventilation. Again, that helps you get cool faster. I've worn this in colder environments too, and I've worn this in hot environments, and I've never had a problem with sweating. The 511 one has little vents on the side. This one, it goes underneath the armpit, as you can see, and it actually goes a little bit further. But you can tell it goes about almost halfway down the sleeve. So that gives you a little bit more aeration that way, but it doesn't have all the little holes on the side. So it's basically just like wearing a t-shirt underneath your plate carrier. So it's still better than if it was just all this material. Never buy a shirt that's going to go underneath the plate carrier that's just this material right here. You're going to be sweating a lot, and it doesn't breathe hardly at all. You want a material like this. Now, I will say the nice thing, the 511 shirt is more form-fitting to your body. So I'm a skinny dude, and as you can tell, I don't know if you can see on camera here, but the middle part of the body actually kind of sucks in. So now if you're a larger guy and your body's more round and, you know, less curvy at the waist, this won't really matter much for you. But this shirt right here fits more like a normal t-shirt. It doesn't hug your body. This one does. And why that's important is whenever you're wearing a plate carrier, if you have all this extra material like loose and flopping around, it just means you're going to have more of this tan exposed. It's not going to be covered by your plate carrier. And so you're just going to see less multicam, more tan, so it might make you stand out a little bit more. Is that a big deal? Not really. I mean, it's really not in the grand scheme of things. If you were that worried about blending in, wear a ghillie suit. But that's just something to take notice. My biggest issue and between these two shirts mostly comes down to the length of the shirt. So the 511 shirt is actually really long. So if I spread it out on here, you might be able to see the length. Let me see if I can get these two. All right, so the length, hopefully you can tell here. That gives a good representation. So they're both about the same length, height-wise. You can see the 511 is significantly longer. So that's a good probably 3 or 4 inches longer in length. And why that matters is whenever you're trying to tuck in your shirt to your pants because you don't want your shirt loose, because then it's going to get in the way of your belt, everything else you want it kind of tucked in. This shirt stays tucked in. This shirt kind of stays tucked in depending on how much you're moving around. If you're just walking around, this shirt's going to stay tucked in just fine. But if you're going into awkward shooting positions, all the different kind of stuff, this shirt comes untucked. So if that's not a big deal to you, or if you don't tuck in your shirt, then fine. This one will work just fine for you. But one criticism I would like for Idogear to change with this shirt is make this material longer. Now, I do have a taller torso, so maybe if you're a battle gnome or something, then this one would be fine for you. But if you have a longer torso, just know that it may not stay tucked in. So if that matters to you, just know that. The other main complaint I have, and the main difference between the two of these, is the neck. So I'm going to lay these next to each other. Now, if you don't zip up the neck, then this won't really bother you all that much. But I generally will zip up the neck simply because I don't like the plate carrier shoulder straps rubbing against my neck. So hopefully you can tell on here, they're both in the same place at the bottom right here. So this one is about another inch, maybe 1.5 inches taller. The Idogear one is. So you can see right there, it sticks up further. So I don't know if who they use as a model for making this thing, but unless you have a giraffe neck, this thing is way too long, and whenever you zip it up all the way, I guess you could kind of fold it down some if you wanted to, but it's just super uncomfortable whenever you do that. So if you zip it up all the way, that sucker is just really, really tall. And I have a pretty tall neck, and I still can't zip it up all the way. So you can tell the difference between these two. That's a lot. Hopefully you can see that on there. Yeah, you can. This thing is just way too tall. So something Idogear needs to do is just cut this thing in half. Half of this material does not need to exist. So make the zipper stop right here. This material up here on the top does not need to exist. So if you plan on zipping this up all the way and that's how you want to wear a combat shirt, then this shirt is not for you. Don't buy it. It's a waste of money. If you leave it unzipped all the time and you leave your collar like you would say like a polo, and you're just wearing it like that, then the shirt works just fine. So those are the two main shortcomings of this shirt over here, the Idogear, is the collar basically is you can't zip it up. So your neck's going to get rubbed raw if you have that problem with your plate carrier. I generally don't. Every now and then it'll rub against my neck, but it's not a big deal. And you can't tuck in the shirt. The 511 doesn't have either of those problems. All right, so that covers the body. And hopefully y'all can see what I'm talking about. And again, if you have any questions, just put them down below. The sleeves are the next big, or really the last of the differences. I like the 511 sleeves. The sleeves themselves are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You can Velcro them down here at the bottom. You can adjust them to your wrist. The Idogears do that too. They have some Velcro right here. I don't have any complaints about that. The 511s and the Idogear here, I can show you what the sleeves look like. So the pockets on here are different. They're basically the same shape, but they're a little bit different. So the 511s are actually angled a little bit more, so you can see whenever the sleeve is down, they're angled more versus the Idogear are more straight up and down. The Idogear ones are also a little bit bigger, so if you want to put a lot of stuff in your pocket, the Idogear has a bigger pocket. The main difference for me, though, well, there's two, is the Velcro placement. So on the Idogear, they use 2 strips. So what that does is whenever your arms are inside the sleeves, you're wearing the shirt, this pocket right here is able to fold with your body like that. So see, I can fold it over on itself. So it conforms to your arm. So whenever you're bending it and everything, it goes around your arm just fine. There's no issues. On this one, this giant piece of Velcro basically acts like a piece of cardboard. So what this feels like when you're wearing it is if you were to put a cardboard insert inside of here, like just a stiff piece of cardboard, Velcro it, and then run around. This pocket is always stiff and it's always square and it doesn't conform or wrap to your body. It just always feels like sticking out. Now, it's not that bad. I exaggerate a little bit, but that's what it feels like whenever you're moving around. It does still conform to your body a little bit. Something I plan on doing, because I don't use the Velcro on here, is probably either cut like a strip down the middle and separate the two, just so it can actually fold. But I'd have to be careful not to mess up the stitching or the underneath layer. But there's really no reason for them not to have something like this. This is a better design for the Velcro. Now, if you want to attach a bunch of patches and stuff, yeah, this will give you a little bit more, I guess, area to attach stuff to. But since I'm not, I would rather have comfort, and the sleeves on this are more comfortable because of that design. So one of the other main things that the Idogear has going for it, and I wish the 511 ones would do this, is they come with these pads right here. So these are little elbow pads, and you stick them, there's little pockets right here, and all you do is slide them in here. Sorry, this is harder to do behind the camera. So these just slide in this little pocket, and they look cheesy. They look like, whenever I first saw these, I didn't even know these actually came with elbow pads. I didn't read the description that closely, and they look like, you know, they're kind of flimsy. They feel like a neoprene. Like if you ever have, say, the 511 pads for like knee pads that fit on the inside of the 511 pockets on pants. These are a very similar material. They're not as dense, but they're pretty squishy. And they actually work really, really well. I was pleasantly surprised when I already saw this. So I really, really want to like the Idogear because of that. Because if you ever go into awkward shooting positions, or you go prone and you have to go prone quickly, you have to jump on the ground, whatever. You can go to the ground a lot faster and not just destroy your elbows, because these protect you. Now, yeah, you can wear some, you know, external elbow pads or something over the top of your shirt if you want to, or I guess if you had thin enough ones, you could wear them underneath. But these built into it make a huge difference. Just like having the other Idogear pants that I reviewed a while back, having the knee pads built into the pants make it way more comfortable. They're less bulky and they still work pretty well. Obviously, this is not going to be as much padding as a dedicated elbow pad that's, you know, thicker and has a harder material on the outside. But from what I've done, this is more than enough to protect you from, just say, you know, gravel, stuff like that. Now, if you're going down on, you know, like sharp rocks or something, yeah, it may not be enough, but this is for, you know, 99% of the situations out there, this could be more than enough. And that's a really nice touch. I like having those in there, and it doesn't make the sleeve feel bulky at all, and it doesn't get in your way. So Idogear, great job on that. 511, you should copy that idea, make some sort of internal pocket for that, because that's genius. So between the two of these, you'll have to pick between, you know, what matters to you. Again, the biggest complaint I have for the Idogear is the neck being made for a giraffe. Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know who they use as a dummy to, you know, to fit all this on, but I don't see how it would fit on anybody. I have a pretty tall neck, and it's still very uncomfortable to wear. The 511 one is the perfect height. It doesn't get in my way. I can move my head in circles all the way around. It doesn't rub the bottom of my neck or anything. It doesn't abrade anything. It's very comfortable. And also, the length on this is awesome. The length on this is a little bit too short. Both of the zippers that are on this one, on the 511, as well as the Idogear, they're both a little bit different. The 511 is a little bit thinner. If you can see, it's a little bit thinner, more fine zipper. It's YKK. The Idogear is also YKK, but it's a little bit thicker, a little bit more chunky. Does that make a difference? No, not really. Both of these, I'd say, are about the same comfort level. The 511, again, is a little bit more comfortable just because of the material itself. Now, what I will say is, if you're in the summer, I think this one's probably a better choice. But if you're in the winter and you want a little bit, you know, slightly more warm, this one's a little bit warmer because it doesn't breathe as well. But ultimately, I think both of these are good combat shirts. It just depends on what you're looking for. Overall, if I had to give the edge to one of them, I would probably give the edge to the 511. Simply because like I love the padding on the sleeves on the Idogear. Like that's a huge plus. And I love the sleeves. If I could rip off the sleeves on the Idogear and swap them out with the 511 sleeves, that's what I would do, and then that would be my perfect shirt. So maybe you can find another company out there that makes that same combo. But again, 511 if you're listening, or Idogear if you're listening, copy each other's design. Neither of these are flame resistant or treated for bugs or anything like that. Again, you're not going to get that kind of quality for the price that this is. So if you're planning on wearing this in some sort of high risk job where you're going to be around flames or explosions or IEDs or something like that, this isn't for you, because this material will just straight up melt to your skin, versus some of the nicer stuff out there is more flame resistant. So just know that. So if that's your occupation, then you'd probably want to stay clear of these, because again, they're not designed for that. These are designed for just your average Joe, maybe some LE, something like that. Someone who's not going to be around explosions or fire or anything like that. So something else about the sleeves here too is on the 511s, as you can tell right here, hopefully you can see that, the material right there, there's this patch kind of sewn onto the sleeve itself. As you can see, it starts right here and it works its way down, and then it ends right here where my thumb is. So this is just an extra piece of material sewn on the outside of the sleeve, and that's just to give it a little bit more durability, because again, if you're going into the prone, out of the prone, back and forth, jumping up and down, whatever, you're going to put wear and tear on the sleeves, and that will just help your sleeves last a little bit longer. The Idogears do have a similar thing right here, but they were smart and used it as a pocket. Now, something you might be able to do, I don't know, I haven't tested this, but they look to be very similar in size. See if I can pull this out right here. So you got one right there, the other one right there. They look to be very similar in size. You could, in theory, I guess if you're very careful, cut the stitching right here, and maybe put a piece of Velcro right there, and you could actually take this padding out of here and put it in these sleeves. I don't know, I haven't tried it, but if you're good with a sewing machine or super glue and duct tape or whatever, then you might be able to work that out. But that's just something to take notice of, that it does have that material there. So 511, again, if you're listening, you could easily turn this into a pocket and put some elbow pads or something in it. Personally, if I had to pick one, I'm going to pick the 511, because I can get over this minor nuisance. It's just annoying feeling, but it doesn't actually change anything function-wise. Versus this actually does change something function-wise. If you had to zip up your collar, say if it's winter or something like that, and you want to, wrap something around your neck or whatever, you're going to have to zip this up, and you can't. So again, that's just my preference. You may have different preferences. Buy both if you can't decide, and then return whichever one you don't like. But again, if I had to pick just one, I would probably pick the 511, just because it has less problems with it, even though I really do like the elbow pad. Anyways, hopefully this helped you all out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Again, I try to answer all the comments and questions that y'all have. So anyways, have a good one.